Here is the meat and potatoes of the thumbnail that I had put up about are we going to see multiple Spider-Mans in Spider-Man 3? So this is going to be kind of our deep discussion because I really want to hear your thoughts on it. So this is once again by Get Fandom. Uh, and Sony Pictures responds to Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield Spider-Man 3 rumors. Now this is a couple days ago. I don't know if this has changed, but they're saying those rumors, those rumored castings are not confirmed. Now everybody
Hmm.
was going crazy when they heard that because they said Sony didn't deny it and they didn't,
Yeah.
say it was happening.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Hmm.
what are your thoughts on this kind of
Yeah.
in the middle response, I guess?
Oh, it's happening. There's no. I don't even think they're beating around the bush anymore. They're just
Yeah.
obviously just like, we know what's behind the door, but it's just like, they want to surprise you. Obviously, in the time that we live in, there's nothing that can get something like this 10 years ago would have been so cool to see if we didn't know anything about it. But obviously, we live in a
Yeah.
much different times. But I think it's. I don't normally do like guarantee it, but I guarantee that we're going to see them in the next Spider-Man film. It's just like it's
Really?
too the writing's on the wall. When there's smoke, there's fire.
Hmm.
Again, there's a reason why Marvel hired Sam Raimi for Iron Man or Doctor Strange 2. That's not a coincidence that Sam Raimi was their pickup because they were thinking Sam Raimi. We want to have Tobey Maguire come back in the role. And again, I know Sam Raimi's not directing Spider-Man 3, but it's like the conversation of Sam Raimi making that call, being, "Hey, Toby, I'm over here doing Doctor Strange. I would love to get you in a cameo,
Yeah.
but would you do me a favor and pop up in Spider-Man 3 for John Watts and what they're doing over there?" And Andrew Garfield, say what you will about those two films, the passion that he had to play Peter Parker. I don't know if you saw that clip from many, many years ago at Comic-Con, how like passionate, how much it meant to him to be Peter Parker and
Yeah.
Spider-Man. It meant a lot to him. It sucks that the films they did well, which is so crazy. They did like 800, 700 million in the box office, but they just weren't critically acclaimed.
Yeah.
But I think this is even if it's a cameo, if it's a brief scene, if it's just them giving Peter some advice or some whatever the case may be, how to take out this villain that's crossed over to the universe. I think it is guaranteed that we're going to see Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield in Spider-Man 3.
Well said, because I mean, all the planets are aligning in the MC
Yeah,
world, MCU world, as far as multiverse, right?
yeah, yeah,
With Doctor Strange, all the just all the little breadcrumbs that we're getting. I mean, you can't get much. We're living in a pandemic right now, so
hmm,
all we're seeing is a bunch of behind the scenes teaser pics and all this news coming out from some studios, them saying it's
yeah,
not confirmed. Obviously, I mean, you're saying that it is going to happen. I think a lot of us as well. I was telling Brando, I don't think it could possibly happen, but we've seen crazier things happening. And if they do introduce multiverse in a live
yeah,
action, we already saw with Miles Morales.
yeah.
If they're gonna already bring it out in Spider-Man 3, it would make sense. And who's coming through? It would have to be the other Spider-Mans.
Hmm.
It would have to
Yeah,
be.
this to me also is a sign that Sony is wanting to eventually they're going to branch off. It's inevitable that they're going to branch off from the MCU sooner
Yeah.
rather than later. I think they're going to do this one more, have him pop up in his solo film and have him pop up in an Avengers film, and then probably in 2 or 3 years, well, probably longer than that because we won't get an Avengers film for probably another 2 or 3 years, but
Yeah.
we're gonna do probably two more things with Spider-Man and the MCU, and then this move right here, like what Sony's been doing really smartly is they know that Marvel is boosting up their stock. They
Yeah.
know that having Tom Holland in the MCU and once he branches away is going to boost up their. I mean, we saw that with Spider-Man: Far From Home was the highest grossing Spider-Man film of all time because he's in the
Yeah.
MCU. So I think they're making these moves. Morbius, um, Venom 2 with Carnage, these spin-off movies that they're doing, they're secretly I mean, I don't think Marvel is like feels bad. Like Marvel's like, yeah, you can use us because we're able to get Spider-Man in the MCU and him appear in the all the Avengers films. Then they're gonna probably have a Spider-Man-ish type of character replace that, whether it be a Deadpool or be some of the young Avengers characters. So
Mm.
it benefits both sides. But this to me proves that Sony is just like Marvel, boost this up, get it
Yeah.
excited. Spider-Man 3. So in 3 or 4 years, we can have our Spider-Verse, official Spider-Verse movie, just Sony movie without the MCU attached to it.
Yeah, because if I'm not mistaken, there was a time where was it Disney or Yeah, it was Disney that was trying to buy out this character of Spider-Man from Sony, right? They were trying to buy them out,
Yeah, they
something
wouldn't.
like
They're
that.
not gonna give him up yet because that's like their
Yeah,
crown jewel for
that's
Sony.
all
Him,
they got.
Sony, yeah, James Bond and Spider Man, they'll never be sold off because that's like their crown jewel.
Yeah,
So only thing that Marvel could do is just team up with them,
work
and
with
like I
them.
said, it's been pretty successful so far with the first two first two Spider Man, seeing
Yeah,
him in the Avengers movies. So yeah, and we
yeah,
got to remember too, X Men and Fantastic Four. That's going to be what's going to replace Spider Man. It's like we still got all those amazing characters to to dive into. So
man.
this to me is like party. This is the signs of them eventually branching off and them, Spider Man and doing his solo thing. And his universe is being built already with Carnage and Venom and Morbius and the Sinister Six. So yeah, man.
I hope we live a long life so we can see all this, man. Like,
Yeah.
because I mean, it's just gonna keep developing, and especially if you follow the comics like you do, it only leads to the excitement of what can happen next, and it seems like they're following kind of these timelines and stuff, and it's great. Jumping to the chat really quick, Tony Movie Chappie says about this article that we're covering. If they get Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, I would be so insanely hyped for it. Also, Jay says, if it happens, I hope it doesn't overshadow Tom Holland's Spider-Man. That's. What do you think about that? Are those thoughts? Oh, you got your mute button on.
Yeah, sorry about that. It will, unfortunately, if Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are in Spider-Man, it will be the selling point, and I think that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, just like comics, there's a reason why there's crossovers in comics. Some of the comic crossovers, some of the characters that cross over into the mainstream, into the comics, are bigger than the character they're trying to boost or trying to sell. So
Yeah.
sometimes it might sound bad, overshadowing someone's main character or main story arc, which it's going to overshadow. It's going to get people in the theater, but I still think we're going to have a Tom Holland through line. He's going to still, just like Captain America: Civil War. We had all the Avengers in the mix fighting each other, but it was still Cap's story. So and that's why I think Marvel is still going to be a part of this, helping them kind of tell that story and not get lost in the crowd. So I think it works for both sides. It's going to get people excited for those because there are people that do not like Tom Holland Spider-Man, and they don't like him because he hasn't been their version of Spider-Man. It's been the MCU's version of Spider-Man, which is Spider-Man and crew, which is the whole deal of Sony and Marvel signing a deal with them, was not to get solo Peter Parker stories. It was to get Peter Parker in the Avengers. That's what the deal was, when they signed it 5 years ago. So,
Yeah.
I think that it will overshadow him, but I think they're still going to have a good story for Tom Holland to grow into the Spider-Man that people want him to be, which is a solo version of Spider-Man. But, in the MCU, that won't happen. So
Most definitely, I hear that.